Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. Myself, Rahul. I head the digital solutions for Zvolv. We would like to thank you for each of you to be part of this webinar. I'm very confident that this webinar is something which is going to be a topmost interest for all of you. While every business goes through the need in terms of transforming their business, it is very important to look at wide varieties of digital applications for their need as well. While the needs is evolving, it is becoming very important for organizations to roll out these kind of digital applications in a much quicker, faster pace. Today, we are going to talk about the details on how we can really unlock the team's potential with the Zvolv low-code, no-code platform for a very effortless app building. Today, we have two guests joining the call. We have Shivam, who's rolling in as a finance user. So, as a finance user, he is going through different business challenges, which he is looking at solving it. And he is kind of curious to understand how this can be solved. At the same time, we have Siddharth joining in the call, where he is an expert when it comes to the Zvolv low-code, no-code platform. And he is basically, throughout the session, going to help Shivam solve the business problem by building that application using the power of low-code, no-code platform. Once again, I welcome all of you to the webinar. Over to Shivam and Siddharth to take us through the journey of how the effortless app building is possible.
Hi everyone, I'm Shivam, and today I'll be talking about a complex business problem which you are looking at solving.
Hi everyone, my name is Siddharth. I'll try to address Shivam's problem by building an app.
Right. So I'll be rolling in today as a finance user of a large MNC. And one of the biggest problems which we are currently looking to solve is CapEx approval process. So hey Sid, are you up for this challenge?
Well, I hope you make it a tough one. Yeah,
All
of
right,
course.
so let me, all right, let's see what you have. So we'll start with, I'll give you a background about what is the problem which I'm currently facing at, right? So in my department, currently there is a CapEx approval flow which is happening. And it happens in many places, all the communication is usually happening over emails. Like the other day, I got a phone call from my colleague and they talked about the delay in the status and the delay in the turnaround times. So I went up to my team member and said, hey, what is it that's causing the bottleneck, right? And my colleague had to actually jump into their mailbox, check the previous mails, check the timestamps, look at the entire duration. And it took them quite some time to bring out the information. And on another occasion, my manager had asked me, hey, Shivam, would you know how many non-budgeted requirements are coming in from Mumbai? And when I approached my team, again, they had to take the information out manually because a lot of data is on emails, a lot of information is on Excel sheets. They had to make those pivot tables manually and get back to me in a few hours' time. So that all got me thinking, like, if everything is being done so manually and by humans, there's always prone a possibility of some error happening. And I'm wondering if you can help me solve with this problem.
So Shivam, these are the 6 steps we run every application through. That is process, data, integration, automation, user interface, and analytics. On Zvolv, we follow the bottoms-up approach. So we would always want to focus more on your process. So let's start there. How about you start sharing your process? Can you give me more details on how you break down this process?
So thanks, Sid. Let me explain what the current process is, which is being used in my department. So any user in the organization can submit a request for a CapEx approval. Currently, what they do is they have a form which they fill in, and there are certain fields which they have to mandatorily respond to. This form is basically sent via an email as an attachment. Now, once this form is submitted, the first level, it is always sent to the reporting manager. So the reporting manager validates the form, makes sure all the required fields are present, make sure all the data is correct. And once the reporting manager is okay with it, then it proceeds further to the next stages of approval. Now, in the next stage, this is going to be the HOD approval and procurement head approval simultaneously. Once both of these approvals are in place, then it proceeds further for a CFO level approval, subsequently a business head, and then finally the managing director approval.
Okay.
Now, in this process, Sid, what we have done is this entire process of approvals being done over emails was causing a bit more of a turnaround time. So to make it better, currently, if within the request form, if a request is under the category of budgeted, then after the HOD and procurement head approval, no further approvals are needed. The request is deemed as approved as soon as both HOD and procurement head give the go ahead for the same.
Understood. Okay, so let's try and build this on Zvolv. So that's great, Shivam. Let's start building your application on Zvolv. I'm sure there might be a lot more details. This is just the tip of iceberg, what you explained me. So let's get building. So, so this is where basically your Zaps will reside, all the application that your organization has. So let's start fresh. We'll call this CAPEX approval. You can also put in a description. We'll just skip it. We can come back to this. So let me just quickly create the app and then get to the builder. So builder is where we'll do the configuration, where we'll map your process, put in all the form details, we'll create the databases that are required, automation, all of that. So let's start by putting together your process. Your process starts from what I understand, your process starts from someone sending in a request form. The second step or the first step is the reporting manager giving an approval on that process. So we'll just put in as RM. So this is the reporting manager's approval. After your reporting manager's approval is received, what's the next step that you have?
After RM approval, we'll have the procurement head approval and HOD approval.
Okay. Sure, I'm just jotting down all the activities. This will all make sense in a minute once we go to the process view. After HOD, what's the next activity or the next approval in line?
Then it goes over to the CFO for their approval, followed by business head and the MD.
All right. So now, since the system follows a linear process, dependencies, this is how your process is looking right now. Now, let me configure the parallel approvals. I assume these are the two activities that happens in parallel. They happen sequentially, correct? The procurement approval and HOD approval. So I'll show you how to quickly configure that. So whenever you want any activity to start in parallel, you go to that activity, you go to the logic stage. This is where we define the dependencies in Zvolv. Over here, as seen in the process flow map, PH approval was next in line after this. Let me quickly add the HOD approval as well. Now what we've done is we've created two folks, but let me remove this because we don't want a sequential approval here. So as soon as the RM approves, automatically it is triggered to both procurement head and HOD. So this is how now the process looks. Is that correct, Shivam?
There's one more thing I'd like you to add, Siddharth. Yeah. After the CFO approval, the business head and MD approvals are also being done simultaneously. So can you do something similar for them as well?
Sure. Just hold on a second. That. So after CFO approval, again going back to the logics page, we'll configure the MD approval. Okay, and That's it. Now, remove this. Okay, I'm just making sure. Yeah. All right. Now this is how your process flow will look like, Shiva.
Yeah, that's
Is
how it
this
is being done currently. Yes. I do have one question though. For the procurement head and HOD approval, both
okay?
of these approvals are mandatory for the request to proceed to CFO level. So is that the case over here as well?
Oh, that's not. Either one will trigger the CFO. Let me just quickly configure that.
Okay.
Shivam, one more question. Do you want the CFO approval to start on either of their completion, the procurement head approval or HOD approval, or do you want both of them to complete before the CFO could start?
They should both provide their approvals before it's sent to the CFO.
Okay, so let me quickly do that. So what we have done is we've created an and function here, which will be HOD and procurement head approval is required for the CFO to be triggered. So we've configured that, and now the process chart will get updated. So I hope this is exactly how your process looks like now.
That's how it is being done currently. I'm really excited to see that you spun this up just in a matter of few minutes. Great.
All right. Great. Sounds great. So now, Shivam, let's come to the second part of this. Now we've created the process. Let me quickly make a save of this. So I've saved your process. Now let's come to the second part of it. Great. Since we have narrowed down your process, now let's start building the request form which kickstarts this entire process. So from what you have shared with me, let me start quickly building it, and then you can jump in uh, if if you want to pitch in. So let me just so I'm adding this as a person who is going to request this. So requested
Okay.
by. Now I see a date field, and I think this date is. Why is this? Sorry. Then requested on. So this will be the date field. I'm assuming you don't want the users to, insert the date every time they do this. You want the system to capture it automatically. So let me go ahead and do that. Let me know if you're okay with all of this. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So site name, I'm keeping it a text field. User can input it manually. Then budget type, I'll configure a drop down because we have two predefined options. Budgeted, non-budgeted. And then purchase type. Sector. I'm keeping most of these text field. I'm assuming all of these are user input. Uh, Location, and then invoice. And this will be a
Mhm.
file upload. Is there any specific format you would want this invoice to be? So generally PDF and
Yeah,
Excel
yeah. We
document.
would like to have it as a document. So yeah, PDF, Word files. That's good.
Okay. So yeah, we've now quickly built your request form. a user will fill in the site, will mention if it is budgeted, non-budgeted, what was the purchase type, what sector, what location, and will upload the invoice. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Do we have cost center here?
Quickly add that. Shivam, is this cost center like a text input, user free text, or do you want it to come from a list?
So no, it would come from a list. We already have around 15 cost centers throughout the organization. So the user will have to select from one of these.
Okay. All right, Shivam. So let's make the cost center a drop down. What are the cost center options that you have?
We can just number them numerically 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
CC1, CC2, is that fine?
that is fine.
And how many do you have? Shivam, now that we've added all of these fields, let us just make minor adjustment to them. Let me just open a quick builder view. Now, most of these fields would be required, some of would be optional, right? Could you help me with those?
Sid, actually, I would say all of these would be required except for sector. Sector can be kept as optional, but everything else is required to be submitted in the form.
So let me quickly make all of these mandatory. And yeah, for now, I think this looks good. Let us get back to this and move on to building a task form. Now, Shivam, in task form, I'm assuming all the details that are there in the initiation form would be basically when a RM is approving, they would actually go ahead and review all the information that the initiator has or the requester has submitted, and they will go ahead and put in their remarks. Is that understanding correct?
That is correct. And also, I think the reporting manager should have the control to make any changes if required. So many a times what happens is if people are not aware of some of the fields, they just enter any field because it's required. And then it's a mess sorting this challenge out. So if the reporting manager feels that they can edit it right away, they can do so because it's part of their team and they can send it to the next level of approvals. Or if they would like to send it back, I would also like a feature where they can send it back to the team person who's requesting it, along with comments saying that these are the changes that should be made to the application.
Sure. So let's go ahead and build all of that. So all the data will get inflowed. Let's quickly add approval remark. So Shivam, in any case, does this get rejected?
It can get rejected, yes. If the request pertains to a requirement which is not authorized, then definitely yes. So example, if I'm putting in a request to buy something which is not for company usage, it will definitely be rejected. Yep.
Okay. So your options would be then approve, rework in case there is any rework that needs to be done or it needs to go back to the previous stage, and then reject if at all you don't want to, if at all you would want to reject the request. And
Right.
then a comments section to make comments. So Shivam, I'll just quickly run you through all the different type of fields that we have.
Okay.
So we can pick and choose whatever, but most of them right now we've configured as text and drop down or a file search or a file upload. So we have a checkbox, drop down list, radio buttons, date picker, all of them, progress bar, tables. We can have tables, a user search field. So what I had also done over here is I had made the requested by a user search field. So rather than a user inserting their name every time they are making a request, the system captures their username by whenever by their login ID. So automatically the name is populated. Just wanted you to know that. So okay, now this is built. Let me just copy the structure to all of these task forms, and Let's save and move to the next part. So let me go to the data points. Make a quick copy of all of this. All right, now I've copied. So now, yeah, I think we are good to move to the next step. Yeah. All right. So Shivam, now since we have built all your process, let's come to the second layer, which is the data. Uh, database. Basically, database is all the system of records. So your databases are masters wherein you would want to keep, say, all your cost centers and detail associated with your cost centers. So let's quickly build a database. Let me call it as cost center. I'll just select everything, keep everything as default for now, and quickly set through it. I've created a database. Let me define the structure for this. So we saw a workflow builder. Now what we are seeing is a form builder or a database builder. Again, kind of similar interface, but you have same sort of fields. Let us just say center. Spend type, purchase type. Department. And I can rearrange them, reorder them. The HOD, the head of department, we will select from all orgs. So we'll see all users, and we want only one selection. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll quickly skip this. So Shivam, we now have a database, which is a cost center, and we can have all the details associated with the cost center here. And then we can have this data flowing into the request form. So no errors are made on the part of the submitter or the requester.
Sounds great.
Okay, so Shivam, as you saw how easy it was to make this database, we can make all the database that you need. But in interest of time, let's move on to the second layer, third layer, which is automations. So
Sure.
one of your ask was a way of identifying each of these requests. So let us just create a automation for having a requisition number that is generated every time a new request is raised. So let me quickly add that. I have this automation built, and it is a part of our library automation. So let me just copy and paste that here quickly. And we'll name this request generation, and we'll save this. And now we've put an automation in the workflow, and that is denoted by the icon.
Great.
Okay. All right. So now let's move to the next pivot, which is the fourth layer, that is integrations. So Shivam, we have all of these integrations out of the box available, and we support all sort of REST APIs integration through that. But we'll come to this later. I don't see any integration in what you just mentioned, so we'll just glance over it, and if required, we'll get back to this.
Sure.
So Shivam, now we've gone through the four layers. Before we move on to the fifth layer, I'd just like to recap a bit. We went through the process, we built the process, we went through databases, we added an automation, we did, I showed you the integrations panel. And now we'll create some reports and user screens. So for that, let's move to sorry. So for that, let me move over to a different workspace where all of these forms have been built and data has been pre-filled, so we can visualize the user screens and the dashboards better. So over here, let us start with building a very simple data table. These are all the various type of widgets that you can configure, but we'll start with the data table. So let's start here. Let me quickly name this. We'll first bring out all the open CapEx approval request. Requests. Let me just pull in all the data from the required forms. So requested by requested on. So Shivam, you can also pitch in wherever you want any additional field that you feel that I'm not adding.
Sure, Sid. I think you can continue for now. I think once I get to see the shape of how the widget looks, I can give some more feedback on that.
Okay, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to pull out all the information required onto the dashboard. Now let's quickly configure the field types. Now that we have plotted all the data points, let us do the column mapping. Column mapping is nothing but using the data points that we just picked and giving them some styling. So we can define what type of column that would be the column that we're picking. So this is something similar to what you would have seen in Excel, which is the column type. Just mapping all of those. Now this is where this comes useful. Now over here, if you see the date format, this is a default date format, which is YYMMDD. I can change this because I have an option to change this and I can choose whatever date format that I want. So let us just go with DDMMYY. And then the status. And as soon as I plot status, status has some default color coding. So any request that is active will appear in yellow, completed will appear in green, suspended or cancelled or rejected will appear in green. So now we've configured this table. Now at a glance, you can see which request was raised by whom on what date and what is the status of it. Okay. Now let us just configure few pivots. I remember you asking one of your colleagues that you would want to see uh, in what region how many open requests are there, right? So
Right,
let us
right.
quickly try to build a pie chart which says how many open requests I have versus how many completed ones I have. So now since I've built this, let me just quickly take a copy of this. I would take a copy of this as a donut chart. Save this. Okay. So now we've copied the above table. Let us just quickly convert this into a pie chart. Let me configure a pivot on this. Let us take the count of all the status that we have. So I would say I want count of status. The operation is count. I would create a non-pivot column and call it total pivot. Let's just plot the series. This is just me configuring the slices of a pie. So I would call my series status and then total is form of number. If I've configured this at a glance, I can see all my I can see at a glance how many active requests I have completed or suspended requests that I have. If I want to change
Right.
the color, I can also go ahead and change the color of my slices. So let me quickly do that. Let me put in and I can also, choose to have my legends visible, non-visible, where they appear. All of that configuration is available. Okay, whether it is top, bottom, center, left, right. I want the labels to show up, all of that. Okay, that's how.
Is it possible, Siddharth, to resize this? Can we have
Yeah,
this a little smaller?
yeah. You
And
can
I'd
resize
also like
them.
to have this on top if that's possible.
Sure. So you can resize them. You can drag and drop it, and it will just snap together. If you want to put this down, you can do that as well. And then I can save this. So Shivam, in the last few minutes, we've went through uh, mapping your process, building your databases, building the forms, adding automation, going over the integration screens and the user screens. Okay, and now let me log out and log in and show you with a little bit more effort uh, how a finished product will look like. Of course, there's a lot more that needs to be done in the background. So we haven't gone through users, permissions, all of that.
Sure.
But in interest of time, I'll just quickly run you through how the management screen will look like. So let me log in as a manager. Okay, so now since we have logged in as a manager, this is what our managers will see. They'll see all the reports, quick links to pending requests, active requests, suspended requests, charts. So which city, how many requests have been raised, uh, department wise, what number of requests are budgeted versus non-budgeted, and then the entire approval tracker. Okay. Let me now log in through a user view and quickly create a request and show you how that works. All right, Shivam, whenever a user logs in, this is the screen they are taken to, uh, they will have a quick action button to raise a request. So let us quickly raise a request. So I'm logged in as an ABI as a user. I'll select the site from the database, enter in location, sector, center, department, service, and we'll quickly upload a invoice
Okay.
and submit this. As soon as you do this, a request is raised and will now be available for the manager to approve it. So let me do one thing. Let me go back as a manager and show you. All right. So Shivam, once the request is raised, it is now you can see it in active approvals, and you can see that it is pending with the reporting manager. Over here, we've just configured two screens, but we can have multiple screen based on each role. Now logging back as a manager, uh, on my management report dashboard at the, I can access the open request. So I can click here, which says reporting manager's approval. This is the request that we just created. I can see all the requisition details. And I can approve and put in a comment.
Okay.
As soon as I submitted that, two approvals were initiated. Those were the two parallel approvals to the HOD and to the procurement head. And I can see those appearing here, procurement head approval and the HOD approval.
Okay.
I can also see the last comment made by me, which is Shivam. Looks good. And the requisition details again. And I can also make a comment. I can ask rework. I can say, can you please add justification? And now this will go back to the to Shivam, and then Shivam will have to upload the justification again, and then it will flow back again to the approval.
Great.
Let me log in through the admin view. Okay, so Shivam, now we are in admin view. Let me just quickly recap the steps that we went through to build this application and just walk you through how they come along together. So we went through the process. This is the process that we have mapped. These were the fields that we had created. This is the forms that we had created. We had added few automations And then we went ahead and created a few more databases. So we saw one of the databases, which was the cost center master, and then few more were added. Then we went ahead and configured user screens. In this particular case, we have only configured two user screens, the management report and a user screen. Uh, User screen is centric to users. Users can see, raise a request, see all their pending request, approve request, all of that. And similarly, management can see, management has quick links to the desired approvals. They see action cards with pending approvals, uh, pending request, active request, and suspended request, city-wise view, budgeted, non-budgeted pie slices, approval tracker, all of that. So Shivam, as you saw, how easily we've configured this. Again, changing the dashboard or the user screens quite straightforward. You can click on edit, go ahead, change any configurations that you want, change any colors that you want. And yeah, so as you can see, with a little bit more effort, a couple of hours worth of more effort, Zvolv can build really powerful applications to solve all the business challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks so much, Siddharth. This was actually a great session. And just looking at the app and all the processes, underlying layers, I feel it's really easy to build any application on Zvolv. In fact, a couple of other processes are also popping up in my mind, which I can probably use Zvolv to automate. Thanks again for this great session. Over to you, Rahul.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shivam and Siddharth, for taking us through the journey of app building. It was very interesting because there was a real detailing in terms of the business problem which is facing by Shivam, and that was something which was visually built during the session by Siddharth to show how the platform is powerful and how these app building can be accelerated. I would like to leave you, all of you, with a quick thought in terms of how is Zvolv solving this problem. So Zvolv is a unified platform that comes with a combination of multiple technology capabilities under a single umbrella. And that is something which is making the huge difference from a value proposition for our customers. As a unified technology, one of the core component of the platform is the whole capability around BPM. Whenever you look at developing the workflow, the assignments of the workflow have the clear governance control by enforcing the SLAs on the workflows, etc. These are something which is really handy available on the tool. You can just drag and drop and create those references, same like how you have seen in the webinar. While workflow has a lot of functionalities to cover, it is also very important that how do we bring in intelligence on top of the workflow. That is where our AI ML driven bot engine functions to deliver the intelligence which can address complex business problems, which can take care of large chunk of data consolidations, or it can be as simple as the decisions of the people are getting auto-learned by the system, so that system can act on behalf of the person as well, right? So the AI and ML driven bots framework is something which basically deliver the whole intelligence. Moreover, in any kind of an enterprise environment, we would need to interface with a lot of wide varieties of systems and subsystems to ensure there is a single source of truth. Our integration framework is powerful to act as an iPaaS, where we can seamlessly connect to different enterprise systems using technology adapters, native adapters, database adapters, and all these. Then using these three capabilities, which is the BPM, the automation bots, and the integrations, we are able to seamlessly deliver digital applications with speed and scale. And that is precisely what you have seen in the webinar, how fast it is to build those applications. And that's something which is completely delivered through the power of low code, no code. Many of the application development engagements on the platform is done through the visual drag and drop, whereas we are not limiting the capabilities to develop very complex use cases as well. That's where our bots framework comes handy. Then once these digital applications are developed and rolled out, we empower business with data-driven decisions. And that's something which is done using the analytical framework, which basically gives the power in terms of creating the visual elements to do the slicing and dicing of data. And that helps for business to take the right decisions at the right time. Because of the event-based architecture which is followed, everything is notified to the relevant business users at the right time, etc. Right? So all these components are something which is coming under a single umbrella in Zvolv. And that's something which basically creates a scenario for many of the enterprises where they don't need to look around with so many different technologies to power this. So as a platform, Zvolv deliver hyper automation at speed and scale. And the journey where we have started with, where organization has to transform their business, there is wide varieties of digital applications to be developed and roll out. And that is something which Zvolv will be able to easily deliver for all the different organizations in the market. And all the enterprises who's looking at speed and agility as part of their DNA. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you had a wonderful session. Feel free to reach out to us in case if you have any questions, you would like to understand further details around the product and the capabilities, etc. Feel free to reach out. We are available. Thank you so much once again. Bye bye. Have a nice day for all of you.